Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction came out all the way back in 2001, and with the 11-year gap between that and Diablo 3, a number of diehard Diablo 2 fans said enough is enough and decided to make their own games, one of which grew to be the colossal hit Path of Exile, released back initially in 2013. Now, myself, I've always been a diehard Diablo fan, playing every single one of the games, including their expansions, as well as more recently the phone game Diablo Immortal. Now, I've dabbled with Path of Exile before, but it was honestly mostly mindlessly and I never got too far in it. So with the delay of Season 8 of Diablo 4, I decided, hey, let's give it a try and really dive into the world of Path of Exile. So as a Diablo player, what are my initial thoughts of this game, and as a lore junkie, the world itself? Let's jump right in. So first off, starting off the game, I am immediately greeted by a very dark premise, which as a dark fantasy fan, I absolutely love. So your character has been exiled by a High Templar out of a nation called Othard into this continent called Rayclast. Once you select the character, you're immediately stranded on a beach, face down. It looks like, you know, when they exiled you, they literally just tossed you overboard out of a ship. You wake up, and what do you see right in front of you? One dead exile and one dying exile. You immediately go up to that dying exile, and what happens? The dead body right next to him comes alive and kills him for you to take his weapon and fight the dead exile. Now that is a crazy dark premise, and it immediately sucks me in with a rude awakening to this morbid world. One contrast that I noticed immediately with most of the Diablo games, say Diablo 4, is I'm not starting in like a cozy town and then going out to face danger. You're immediately thrown right in. And frankly, these monsters feel a lot more dangerous than the initial ones you fight in the Diablo game. Another thing I did notice is it seems like not only do monsters hit harder, but they telegraph a bit better than in Diablo, so you can move out of the way and have to play a little bit more strategically. At least for what I saw at the beginning, you can't really just face roll the monsters that you're beating right away. And in fact, before you even get into the first town, you're immediately faced with a boss battle that you have to be careful about. Now, unlike Diablo, where a lot of storytelling is seen in cinematics and cutscenes between different acts, Path of Exile, at least Path of Exile 1, doesn't seem to have this level of production in its storytelling. It's more so told by the different characters in town or through different artifacts and tomes found throughout the world. One of them that I absolutely love in the story building was this poem written on human skin when you're diving into a siren's lair, which again just reiterates how dark this world is. And frankly, if you're into Diablo because of how messed up that world is and having your character to become godlike to overwhelm it, Path of Exile may be right up your alley. Now, let's jump into another piece, which is the combat and skill system. On that beach that I mentioned before when you're starting out, I did gain my first level and unlock passive skills. When I first opened up the skill tree, I was extremely overwhelmed at the number of options available, and it seems to me that this was very much inspired by Final Fantasy, and that's not the only Final Fantasy comparison I'll be making. The passive tree allows you to choose different passive abilities that all end up intertwining across the different classes, which is very similar to the spirit grid from Final Fantasy X, which has a similar mechanism. Now, at least early in the game, for me personally, one piece of criticism I found is that there isn't as strong of a class identity because of this, at least when compared to Diablo, because, you know, each class has very distinct skills with their own skill trees and a class fantasy you can really dive into. Now, on the opposite end though, this means that you can invest so much more into a single character in Path of Exile because the customization really does seem limitless. And to build onto this level of customization, skills, unlike in the Diablo series, are not tied to a particular class. In fact, the way you equip skills is, again, very similar to another Final Fantasy game, which is Final Fantasy VII. You have these slots of different colors inside your equipment where you can put in these virtue gems, which the lore calls them, but they are indeed skill gems, that you could put put in your gear and link to supporting skills that can enhance them. And any class can use any skill in the game, which allows that degree of customization. And again, this is very similar to Final Fantasy VII's materia system, where you can put in an ability-based materia and then attach to it different supporting skills to enhance that primary ability. Now, I am still pretty early in the game, but you can see inspiration came specifically from Diablo 2. For example, the waypoint system, which to be fair is a standard in most role-playing games nowadays, taken from Diablo 2, and even some of the quests are directly taken as well. For example, I'm in Act 2 now, and I just got a quest where the sun got blotted out, leading to darkness, which is the exact same premise as Diablo 2 and Luke Ghislaine, when the sun gets blocked out and you need to go to the Claw Viper Temple to bring it back. And to add to that similarity, the quest I got in Path of Exile hints towards us needing to go to a temple to unblock the sun. That being said though, if you do enjoy the darkness of Diablo and want a game that is much more complex and gives you a lot more customization options, I would say that Path of Exile so far is definitely worth checking out. Personally, I am excited to learn more about this world. It seems like there's a lot of history to it, just reading the different scriptures found around the world, and a lot of morbid, depraved, dark fantasy here, with experimentations gone wrong, mutating certain individuals, as well as bringing back old generals into hulking abominations. With that, I'm excited to play more and share with you my experiences as well as the lore from Path of Exile. Now, this being my first Path of Exile videos, please let me know in the comments if you want to see more content like this, and specifically, what lore pieces in Path of Exile would you love to see covered? And also, I will be playing through all of Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2, so be sure to give me a follow on Twitch. Lastly, thank you all for my Patreon, YouTube, and Twitch supporters. Your support goes a long way to help support this channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time.